I have linked to the lie to wealth system. As long as someone tells me a lie, I will receive 10,000 yuan. I excitedly called home to tell my mother the good news. Mom, I have money. We can't wait grandma's illness. Mom was very happy, really. That's great. Please transfer 200,000 yuan to me quickly. Your grandma's surgery can't be delayed any longer. Your brother and I have been taking care of him day and night for a while, and we are exhausted. In addition, your father's lumbar disease has recurred to help you with the family expenses. The examination and treatment will cost tens of thousands of yuan. Please transfer more money to me. I was about to say something when my phone vibrated 3 times and a text message reminded me that 30,000 yuan had been deposited into my bank card. I stared at the text message on the screen in a daze. My mother, who didn't get a response in the headset, began to urge, "Hello, Yingbao." I took a deep breath and asked Mom, "Which hospital is Grandma in? I'm free now. I can come back to see Grandma." The other side was silent for a second, and then said unnaturally, "You need a ticket to come back, and you don't have to spend money. You just work hard and send money on time. You don't have to worry about taking care of Grandma." Me, I'm not busy recently. Can't I come back to see Grandma? Mom suddenly raised her voice. "Why are you so stubborn? If you are not busy, find a few more part-time jobs." Who would complain about having too much money? Then she seemed to realize her gaffe. "I'm not mean to you. Mom's also for your own good. There are many places to spend money at home. You are sensible. I know you miss Grandma. I will take a video for you in a while." Then she hung up the phone without saying anything. I was full of doubts and wanted to call back to ask, but I held back abruptly before I was about to dial. If they are determined to deceive me, there is no point in calling back now. It will only alert the snake. A few minutes later, my mother sent me a video. In the video, my grandmother was lying on the hospital bed as usual, wearing an oxygen mask on, looking very weak. But I noticed something was wrong and quickly found another video sent by my mother around 9 o'clock in the morning from the previous chat record. In this video, the skylight outside the ward window came in through the thin curtains, casting hazy shadows on the ground for all the objects in the room. And the direction of those shadows was exactly the same as the one my mother sent me at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This was clearly the same batch of videos shot on the same day, and she didn't shoot it on the spot at all. I suddenly realized that since I learned that my grandmother fell and had a sudden cerebral hemorrhage in the hospital at school 5 years ago, I have never communicated directly with my grandmother again. My mother said, "It's useless for you to come back now. You can only help your grandmother if you make money well." My mother said, "Your grandmother said she wants to live, and she always mentions your name and says you will help her." My mother said, "Everything was told to me by my mother." I almost crushed my phone. Today, I must see my grandmother with my own eyes. Until I got on the high-speed train back home, I was still asking around for my grandma's whereabouts. I asked all the hospitals near my home, but there was no patient with the same name and age as my grandma. I called the neighborhood committee again, and the aunt from the neighborhood committee said, "Oh, I remember that an ambulance did come to your house 5 years ago. It seems that your grandma fell and couldn't get up, so she was taken away by the ambulance for rescue. But no one has seen your grandma since then." After hanging up the phone, I was confused and anxious, not knowing what to do. Just when I was getting angry, the company manager suddenly called me. "Hey, Xiaowen, where are you? Did I allow you to take leave? Who gave you the courage to leave without permission? Come back to work." I took a deep breath. "Manager, my leave application says that there is an emergency at home. My grandma." "Oh, it's useless to worry about life, old age, sickness, and death." He interrupted me without saying anything. "Are you a doctor? You can't save people if you go back. Don't make excuses. Come back quickly. I have a PET for a report in the afternoon. Hurry up and make it for me." I clenched my fists, and my nails dug deep into my palms. After graduating from college for my grandma's illness, I gave up the glamorous opportunity to be a management trainee in a big company and turned to work in sales that many college students look down on. In order to make money, I became a curly-haired person despised by my colleagues. I volunteered to work 996 or even 7 all year round, and at the end of the month I could fight with my colleagues in the office for a little performance deviation. Because of this, the manager knew that I was short of money and didn't dare to resign easily, so he could squeeze me to death. The old man on the other end of the phone was still nagging, and his speech was like a torrent. Look how busy I am now. Customers are lining up to sign my orders, and I have to come to deal with your affairs. Do you have the nerve to do that? I was about to hang up in anger, but a text message suddenly popped up on the screen, and 10,000 yuan was deposited into my bank account. The boss was furious, and I said, "You can obviously handle the performance of the entire team by yourself, and you don't cherish the opportunity given to you." 10,000 yuan was deposited into my bank account. Do you think I have any shortcuts? Take bribes. I tell you, there are no shortcuts in life. I rely on being down to earth. 10,000 yuan was deposited into my bank account. Suddenly, I was not so angry anymore, and I listened to the manager bragging for a quarter of an hour with an extremely good attitude, and I gave him some support from time to time. When he finally had enough bragging, I took a breath and drank some water, and I took a look at my bank card, and there was more than 300,000 yuan. The manager said, "Hey, Shaolin, you have a very good attitude today. Not bad. I want to praise you, so I can approve your leave." I sneered and interrupted him. "You are just venting your anger just for fun. It's bullshit. It depends on you. You are still talking about life with me. Your father is not life." The manager choked and his voice suddenly became sharp. You dare to scold me? Not only do I dare to scold you, I can't hear you clearly. I can also carve it on your back, idiot. After saying that, I immediately hung up the phone and blacklisted all his contact information. I immediately used the money that had just arrived to find a private detective to check the real situation of my family in the past few years. The money was enough, and the other party was also very fast. It turned out that 5 years ago, my grandmother fell at home and caused a cerebral hemorrhage. She was sent to the hospital for examination, but after the operation, my grandmother was discharged very soon, and there was no follow-up at all. My mother told me that there were complications such as renal failure and pneumonia. After being discharged from the hospital, my grandmother was not sent home, and it was unknown where she went. After that, my father resigned from the company where he had worked for decades, but had always been frustrated. My mother no longer went out to do housework occasionally like before, but went out to travel frequently and posted many messages on WeChat Moments to show off from time to time. Of course, they all blocked me. The original BYD car at home was sold. My mother told me that because it didn't make enough money, the family had to sell the car to pay for grandma's medical treatment. My detective found out that the family car was indeed sold, but it was soon replaced with a new one. Now the family drives a BMW 5 Series. My father even started looking for a house recently. The tens of thousands of yuan I sent back home every month were not used for the so-called grandma's illness. I understood in my heart that it was after my grandma really fell that my parents discovered my usefulness, so they kept using my grandma as an excuse to force me to work hard for the family. They also had the foresight to shoot so many videos during the time when my grandma was hospitalized, just in case. I asked, "Where is my grandma now? Can you find her?" The other person said, "Sorry, miss. The old lady hasn't returned home since she was discharged from the hospital. There are limited clues. We need some time to find this." But I couldn't wait any longer. I was eager to know where my grandma was sent. I took a deep breath and calmed myself down. Don't be impatient. Don't be impatient. The most efficient way is to ask my parents to personally lead the way for me. I took a taxi home from the high-speed rail station. When I arrived downstairs in the community, I saw a BMW driving in. The license plate number was exactly the new car that the detective sent me. My parents and my younger brother Lin's Angyang got out of the car, all dressed brightly. I looked down at myself. There were only the PDD 9 white shirts that I changed back and forth in my closet. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. The driver saw that I didn't get off the car and urged, "Girl, get off the car. I have to take the next order." I raised my phone and scanned the payment code on the back of the front seat. Driver, girl, what do you want to do? Just tell me. I signaled the driver to lower his voice and let him roll down the window a little. Not far away, Lin Zhengyao's voice came with the wind. Didn't Lin Yinbao say that he had money? When will the money for this month be transferred? I also promised Xiao Jing that I would treat her to a buffet on the cruise ship and give her Bulgari perfume. Dad complained, you little bastard. You spend so much money on a relationship. Mom, you are the only one in the family who needs money. If your son needs money, just let him use it. If not him, who else can you give it to? This is Mom. This girl always urges me to transfer money. I am also planning to travel to Thailand again this month. Last time he suddenly asked, I was nervous all of a sudden and didn't have time to ask clearly what he meant by having money. Called him again and asked. Mom reluctantly took out her cell phone and turned on the speakerphone, and my phone rang. Hello, Ying Bao. Didn't you say you had money last time? What's the matter? How much is it? Why haven't you called me yet? Your grandma is waiting for surgery. Your dad's back is not good. I have a little anemia recently, and your brother's tuition. As she finished her words, tens of thousands of dollars were deposited into my account. I patiently squeezed out a happy voice. Mom, I won the lottery, 5 million. The three of them widened their eyes instantly, exchanged glances happily with each other, and jumped excitedly. Hey, okay, then call me all quickly. I asked in confusion, Mom, does Grandma's surgery require such a large sum of money? Mom realized that she was getting carried away and her words were stopped. While she wasn't reacting yet, I took advantage of this opportunity and said, Mom, I want to see the red string on Grandma's wrist. I got it from the temple when I went on a spring outing when I was a kid. I dreamed that the red string broke a few days ago. Can you take a picture of it so that I can feel at ease? Mom hesitated this. I felt relieved when I saw the red string, so I went to redeem the prize. Otherwise, I would be so nervous that I wouldn't dare to go out. Anyway, you've been by Grandma's bedside, so can you take a picture of it for me? How, Mom is eating outside. I'll take a picture for you later. After hanging up the phone, Mom frowned. The girl looked at her father with eyebrows. This girl, is she suspicious? Dad thought about it and shook his head. It shouldn't be. After all, he was raised by his grandmother, so it's normal. Hey, why don't you bring Mom back to live with you later? Said sternly. No, your mom is so ignorant. I worked hard to give birth to a son for your Lin family, but he doesn't appreciate me at all. He only has his granddaughter in his eyes. Humph, I get angry when I see him. Think about it. The old lady won't live for many years. I'm the only one who can take care of you and your son in the future. Dad raised his hands in surrender. Give up. I patted the back of the driver's seat. Master, follow the car in front. Okay. We followed all the way and drove to the door of a dilapidated courtyard. Dad in the driver's seat seemed unwilling to get out of the car, and Mom went in alone in a rage. In a few minutes, he came out, and at the same time, I received a photo of the red rope on Grandma's wrist on WeChat. Probably because they were afraid that I would see that the background was wrong, the photo was enlarged. Mom, you can rest assured now, right? I agreed perfunctorily and said I would transfer the money to them as soon as the bonus arrived. I asked the driver to drive the car forward and park it next to the gate. When I got out of the car, I went to the guard and said, Hello, I want to see the person that the couple just met. The guard glanced at me, waved his hand and said, We don't allow people who are not registered here to enter. Go ahead. I looked around and saw a small sign next to the iron gate, which said something like sanatorium. I asked, Is this a formal sanatorium? The guard said sternly, as if his tail was stepped on, What do you mean? Of course we are formal here. The phone vibrated, and another 10,000 yuan arrived. I didn't say anything more. I saw a QR code next to the window glass, so I scanned it directly, 1,000 yuan. The guard rolled his eyes, immediately smiled and opened the door to lead the way for me. After 5 years, I finally saw my grandma again. I couldn't hold back my tears. Grandma. Grandma raised her head, and her cloudy eyes suddenly had light. Ying Bao. Is it really my Ying Bao? I rushed forward to hug him, and Grandma touched my head with trembling hands. Ying bao, didn't your parents say that you were sick at receiving treatment, and no visitors or calls were allowed? It turned out that my parents told Grandma that the news of his fall scared me and made me mentally ill. I have been locked up in the hospital for long-term treatment, and no visitors or calls were allowed. They also used this as an excuse to take away Grandma's monthly pension, saying that they would use it for my medical treatment. My nose was sour. Grandma, let's go first. Unexpectedly, a sturdy woman stood up and stopped us. The elderly sent to us are all here for recuperation. Their health conditions are not up to standard, so we can't let them go. If you take them away like this, I can't explain to the people who sent them here. I looked around the dilapidated environment around. There were several children who needed to be explained who sent the elderly here. I asked directly, how much money will it take to let us go? The woman showed an expression of knowing what was going on. Since you are so generous, 50,000 yuan will be fine. I will pay the money and let you go. When Grandma heard this, she immediately pulled my sleeve and said, Xingbao, it's okay. Grandma is fine living here. You don't have to take her away. I looked at the back of Grandma's hand, which was almost only a layer of skin left, patted her to comfort her, and then directly transferred 50,000 yuan to the woman. I pulled Grandma back to the car, and Grandma shed tears quietly. Grandma is useless. Grandma can't help you with anything, and I have to drag you to spend so much money to take me out. I remembered when I was a child, I lived with Grandma in the countryside. My father only gave Grandma a little bit of support. Even with Grandma's meager pension, we still lived a tight life. However, Grandma always found a way to get me delicious food in the poor countryside, small cakes, chocolates, and beautiful stationery and school bags, so that I could live no worse than those classmates whose parents were doing something else. I once swore that when I grew up, I would let my grandma eat all the delicious food in the world. But now my grandma still cries in front of me because she feels sorry for me and blames herself. I told Grandma the truth about how my parents and brother had cheated both of us, and then comforted her. Grandma, I won the lottery, and from now on, it's just the two of us living a good life. Grandma excitedly held my hand. Okay, our Ying Bao is a good child, and all the blessings are to come. My grandma and I went to a 5-star hotel together. Before getting off the car, I heard the driver, who had been with me throughout the journey, stop me and insist on returning the 1,000 yuan I had just transferred to him. Girl, you are a good person, and good people will be rewarded. I thanked the driver for his kindness, but still insisted that he take the money. The driver is right. Good people will be rewarded, and the retribution for bad people is on the way. I took out my mobile phone and sent a message to my younger brother Lin Zhang Yao. Zhang Yao, you have worked hard to take care of Grandma in the past few years. Do you want your sister to give you some pocket money first? According to the information found by the detective, most of the money I sent home in these years naturally went into my parents' pockets. Lin Zhang Yao often complained to his classmates that even though his pocket money was already very considerable among his peers, he still disliked that he was not free enough. When I said that, he was immediately very excited. Thank you, sister. It doesn't have to be too much. Just 30,000 or 50,000 yuan will be enough. It's not easy for you. I asked a few questions about Grandma and the family situation, and saw that she was being nice and polite for the money, pretending to cooperate with the performance, and her phone was vibrating, and there were more than 100,000 yuan in her card. I transferred 50,000 yuan to her. This is my year-end bonus. You can use it first. I will give you more when the lottery prize comes out. He didn't even say thank you, and he was too impatient to reply. I no longer cared about him, and after settling my grandma, I booked a room next door. Then I found a few online store customer service staff to start chatting, turned on the computer, and opened a few live broadcast windows at the same time. Honey, ours is definitely imported genuine leather. This style is really popular, and there are only a few left in stock. Baby, place your order quickly. Our designs are all original, the only one of their kind. The last orders from big brands, direct sales from the factory without intermediaries, and the quality is exactly the same as the kit. I also dug out the phishing text messages I had received before and replied to them one by one. chatting with the scammers on the other side. When the sound of birds singing outside the window began, the balance of my bank card had reached more than 5 million. I closed my eyes for a while, then went out to the sales office and quickly finalized a fully furnished house of about 100 square meters, which could be moved indirectly. In the process of talking with the salesperson, hundreds of thousands of yuan came in. The salesperson smiled awkwardly and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Miss, there are many knowledgeable people, but not many who react as quickly as you do. In the end, I paid in full for a house for my grandmother to live in for the rest of her life at a very good price. When I was about to leave, I saw a familiar figure. My father came in with a young woman in his arms. I knew this woman. She was my father's childhood sweetheart, Tu Xiaoxiao. I was startled and hurriedly covered my face with a brochure. I saw my father hugging Ming Xiaoxiao gently and said, Xiao 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 Xiao, my daughter won the lottery. Now I have money and I must give you the best. Ning Xiaoxiao was very moved. Brother Lin, I knew you would treat me the best, but you have a son. You won't ignore me because of your son, right? My son is the root of my Lin family, and you are the apple of my eye. You are both important. The combined age of the two is enough to make them a century old, but they are still chubby and sticky, which is unbearable to look at. The detective told me that my father was looking for a house before, and I thought the family was preparing to replace it. I didn't expect that he had planned to give Bai Guang a house. Seeing that I won the lottery, he took action so quickly. But how could he be so sure that the money would come into his hands? I thought about it and slapped myself lightly. Lin Yingbao, Lin Yingbao, it's because you were too low in vigilance and easy to control in the past, so this family treated you as a fool. I watched my father and Ning Xiaoxiao hesitating between several apartment types, so I called the salesperson who had just made a deal with me. You go and check it out and find a way to get them to buy the most expensive apartment within their ability. The salesperson smiled and said, Miss, we have to ensure the success rate. If it's too expensive, I'm afraid. I pulled his phone over, pressed his head to unlock it, then opened his payment code and transferred 20,000 to him. I'm afraid they haven't seen their needs clearly, so they think it's expensive. Don't worry, I'll complete the task. It doesn't matter if it can't be completed. If this sales office doesn't work, there's another one. I must let Ning Xiaoxiao empty the money in his father's pocket. The salesperson did not disappoint my expectations. Together with his colleagues, they coaxed my dad so much that he didn't know which way to go. With Ming Ziko's sweet words from time to time, my dad was soon coaxed into buying the most expensive unit among the ones he had just chosen. He directly paid a down payment of over 1 million yuan, and the name of the video was Ning Xiaoxiao alone. I clicked to stop recording and watched the video from beginning to end. I was impressed by the clarity of the latest mobile phone I bought in the morning. Then I changed to an anonymous number and sent the video to my dear mother. On the way back to the hotel after leaving the sales office, a message from Lin's Enya popped up on the screen. Sister, Grandma's medicine is finished. Please give me 1,000 yuan to buy medicine. I laughed. The person I sent to follow him reported that as soon as Lin's Yao got the money, he couldn't wait even a minute. He immediately took his girlfriend out to eat a cruise buffet and bought perfume for someone at the counter. He has been told that he doesn't look like his father since he was a child, but I didn't expect that he is very similar to his father in this aspect, probably because he saw that the money was enough, and thinking that I had won the lottery, he waved his hand and called a few good classmates out to treat us to a Michelin restaurant. Unexpectedly, with the service charge, the budget exceeded by several thousand yuan. At this moment, he was awkwardly held, and the restaurant had no money to pay the bill. I pretended to cooperate and asked, What? There's not enough medicine. After a few minutes, probably because he didn't find anything or found too much and didn't know which one to give me, he said directly, It's the medicine that Grandma has been taking. Don't worry about it. Transfer the money quickly. Grandma is waiting for help. He was too lazy to even come up with a decent name. Considering that he had made me tens of thousands of dollars with just a few words, I mercifully transferred him 500 yuan and then said, Sister has no money either. The 50,000 yuan I transferred to you last time is almost all the money I have. Lin Zhang Yao, but grandma's dying. I sneered, closed WeChat, switched to another chat box, and sent something. Then I pinched my thigh, forced my voice to cry, and sent a voice message saying, "Yeah, sister begs you. No matter what method you think of, please make up this money for sister first, okay? Sister will definitely pay you double later." After a long time, he didn't reply again. Maybe the text message from the lending platform that I asked someone to forward had reached his mobile phone. At the same time, my other number received a message, "Sir, everything you arranged has been done." Well, I used a mail number that had no signs of use to add one of the classmates that Lin Zhang Yao was treating tonight, and urged him to order dishes without restraint and open several bottles of wine. Otherwise, according to Lin Zhang Yao's habit of being suppressed by his parents in the past, he would be more restrained and would not so easily exceed the budget in one meal. If this is the case, I will have to arrange for him to make a few more consumptions later, which is so tiring. The classmate was still reporting to me. Lin Zhang Yao just went out to make a phone call and fiddled with something on his mobile phone, and paid the bill when he came back. Now he says he wants to treat us to singing. I smiled with satisfaction. Once desire has tasted the sweetness, it will be difficult to curb it. So, there are not so many coincidences in the world. Either someone likes you or someone wants to harm you. I took a taxi back to my old home in a good mood. I heard a big quarrel at home downstairs. I held a cup of milk tea bought on the way. He rang to listen to the show at the door. My mother's sharp cry came from the house. "I gave birth to a son for your Lin family. And you treat me like this? You didn't even buy me a piece of jewelry, but you bought him a house." "Enough!" My father's voice came with the sound of something breaking. "If you hadn't climbed into my bed and tiled, how could Xiao leave sadly? How could I marry someone like you? It was obviously Ning Zhaoxue who despised you for being poor, and she just happened to have me as an excuse, so she separated from you and married a rich man. If she hadn't been dumped for not being able to have a child, do you think she would have thought of you again?" Dad's boyish thoughts were exposed. His self-esteem was severely hurt, and he slapped Mom in the face. "You dare to hit me at this time!" The fried chicken I ordered arrived. The delivery boy couldn't help but squatted next to me and listened with relish for a while, then asked me, "What's going on here?" I shook my head and said, "A force melon is not sweet, and poor couples have many worries." "Then what do you do? I'm their creditor." The young man looked at me in horror, stood up, patted his butt, and walked away. The neighbors who came out to watch the fun were sent away by me with 500 yuan each and promised to keep the fact that I had been here a secret. After a while, the noise in the house stopped. Dad's voice was a little lisp, and I don't know if it was because my mother tickled his cheek. He said, "Zhangzhe Yui Lan, I tell you, I don't divorce you for face and for a son. That Xiao Xiao is the love of my life, and I will never let her suffer any grievances." "Bullshit," Mom said. "You obviously can't bear to part with my free labor. If you insist, I'm not afraid of divorcing you. Mom will definitely follow me, and then Lin Yin Bao's money will be transferred to me, and you won't get a penny." Mom couldn't believe it. "Don't you even care about your son? Shouldn't you give him a complete home?" "Huh. If my mom follows me, Lin Yin Bao will give us money." This kid naturally knows who to follow to have a good life. Come to think of it, you deserve it. As soon as our daughter was born, you threw her to the countryside to be raised by my mother. If you had paid a little more attention to her, she wouldn't have been completely led by my mother. Ham cried bitterly. "Who did I do that for?" "I did it to give birth to a son for you. I am a contributor to your Lin family. How could you do this to me? You cheated on me, and I didn't care. I gave birth to my grandson with so much difficulty. I gave birth to a son. You can't do this to me." I was listening with great interest at first, but the fried chicken in my mouth became more and more tasteless as time went on. In my first year of high school, my parents took me back to the city, and I found out that I had a younger brother who was 2 years younger than me. The reason they took me back was because my brother's grades were too poor and he had a hard time taking the high school entrance examination. When they heard that I had good grades, they brought me here and asked me to tutor my brother for free. Since we moved here, my mother has been telling me to keep up with Lin's Eng Yao in everything, but I didn't accept it. My grandmother told me since I was a child that our Ying Bao deserves the best in the world. I argued with my mother, But she shook her head and said that I was ignorant. Silly girl, you will know how to be grateful to your mother when you get married in the future. If there is a boy in the family, the in-laws will not dare to bully you. You have to work as hard as your mother in the future and give birth to a boy so that you can have the confidence. Do you understand? I don't want to know. So she took it for granted that she didn't love me, even though I was the one who had been contributing to the family and providing practical value. In her eyes, I was just a country bumpkin. She never treated me as a human being, and just now, I suddenly felt that she didn't seem to love her son that much. Daughters are used to make money, and sons are used to make herself stand firm. Lin Zhang, Yao and I are both tools. In fact, she is just like her father and only loves herself. I didn't have the interest to listen anymore. I finished the fried chicken in a few bites, took the garbage downstairs and left. In the following days, I took my grandmother to have a full body check. I hired someone to borrow the household registration booklet from home, handled the transfer of the new house, and moved in with my grandmother. Sitting on the soft sofa in the living room, my grandmother couldn't help crying again. My good girl has made progress. She is so blessed, I said. We are blessings of both of us are coming. During this period, in addition to chatting with e-commerce customer service and watching live broadcasts to make money every day, I have not stopped paying attention to things at home. There is a strange balance between my parents. My mother is worried that if they really get divorced, my grandmother will follow my father and she will no longer be able to spend my money, and my father is unwilling to lose a cooking nanny who takes care of household affairs. More importantly, Ning Zhao said that he doesn't want to be regarded as a mistress who destroys other people's families, so my father can't get a divorce, and of course my father will listen to her. My mother sent me messages more and more frequently to ask me when the lottery prize will arrive. Ying Bao, it's not that your mother is urging you, but your grandmother is waiting for this money for a kidney transplant. I glanced at my grandmother next to me. The old lady was studying taro bubble milk tea with great interest. Lottery prizes exceeding 500,000 have to wait for review at least half a month. My mother was obviously not satisfied with this answer, but she could only repeatedly emphasize it must be transferred to the original account. No matter who says what, just transfer it to the original account. Don't change it, otherwise it will affect your grandmother's treatment. Just after I hung up the phone, my father, who rarely contacted me, also called me. The down payment emptied all his savings, but he still had to make a living, and he still had to pretend to be powerful in front of Ning Xiao, so he had been urging me a lot during this period. I told my father the way I treated Lin Zhengmiao, crying, I really have no money. Let him find a way to cushion the gap, and I will pay him back double in the future. Then I also passed on the news of the informal loan to him. Maybe his vigilance will be a little higher than Lin's Yao, but it doesn't matter as long as he believes that I will pay him back double in the future. After hanging up the phone, I wiped my tears, leaned over and said to Grandma, Grandma, edamame is too spicy, and I have fallen in love with spicy strips recently. Grandma didn't admit to talking nonsense, but got up to make me a cup of honey water. A seemingly calm half-month passed, and finally, when Lin's Yao, who was about to be forgotten, reappeared, the good show finally kicked off again. Lin's Yao was chased all the way into the community by the debt collectors. In fact, such a short period of overdue payment would not attract offline debt collection, but I would find actors and he was guilty. He rushed into the house crying, Mom and Dad, save me. The neighbors all leaned out to watch the fun, and the mother hurriedly protected her son. The big man with tattoos grinned and said, Your son owes more than a dozen platforms outside, a total of more than 300,000 yuan. Pay back the money. Another one continued, Not only that, some more polite platforms haven't come to the door yet. Comes to the door yet. Ham was horrified and asked Lin Zhang what he had done. Lin Zhang hesitated and did not dare to answer. The big man sneered and answered for him. You are imitating rich young men to pick up girls and buy bags for girls, but you don't think about whether you can afford those bags that cost tens of thousands of dollars? The girl has a cabinet full of bags of this price. Will she be interested in the one you borrowed as a gift? Lin Zhangyao's self-esteem was hurt, and he retorted with his next if. So what? My sister won the lottery and all her money is mine. I will be a rich man sooner or later. Why are you holding on to me? go catch my sister. Ham nodded. Yes, yes, my daughter is rich. You should go find my daughter. Don't hurt my son. If it doesn't work, I can just pawn my daughter to you. The big man smashed the baton on the floor, making a deep hole. The three people in the room were shaking like sieves. He snorted coldly. We are not responsible for running errands. Those of you who owe money are here, and I will only take care of this place. If you have the guts, call your daughter back now. Mom's hands were shaking, and she took out her mobile phone to call me. This time I really couldn't help laughing out loud. More than half a month ago, my brother called me and said that Grandma was dying. More than a week ago, Dad also told me that Grandma was dying. How come it's your turn now? Mom heard that my tone was wrong and hesitated. Xing Bao. I asked softly, Mom, if Grandma wasn't sick, what kind of life would we be living now? Would she go out to travel and post beautiful pictures on WeChat moments whenever she had nothing to do? Would the decoration of the house be completely renovated? Would she buy a good car, such as a BMW 5 Series? Mom couldn't speak anymore. That nursing home has been closed down, and Mom has been gone for a long time. Of course, I recorded the conversation when I picked up Grandma. Now the person in charge of the nursing home should be thinking about how to deal with charges such as illegal detention and extortion. My mother asked in a trembling voice, You know everything? Dad suddenly rushed over and snatched the phone. Ying Bao, your grandma only has me as a son. If you really want to be filial to Grandma, you can't ignore your father. Grandma leaned over to the microphone and spat fiercely. I don't have a son like you. I raised you from childhood to adulthood, but you ended up raising an ungrateful person. My relatives from now on only our Yingbao is there. Mom snatched the phone back. Yingbao, you can ignore your father, but you can't ignore your brother. Your brother is the only male in your Lin family. I was about to say something, and suddenly the phone vibrated again. I was surprised to see that as my mother's last sentence fell, another 10,000 yuan was deposited into my account. After hanging up the phone that day, several hired men were instructed by me to smash some things in the house in a bluffing manner. Mom had no choice but to. I was forced to show my respect to the big men and repay part of my brother's online loan. After the big men left temporarily, I didn't pay any extra attention to how the three of them cleaned up and pulled. In the evening, my mother called me again. Her voice was very tired. Yin Bao, listen to me. I had to lie to you. You were spoiled by your grandma and don't know how to take care of your brother. If I tell you the truth, will you still be so caring? Well, before I start to deal with some problems, I also want to hear her answer. I asked, Mom, you always told me that you gave birth to a younger brother so that I would have someone to rely on in the future. But after so many years, who do you think is relying on whom? Mom was stunned, then explained anxiously, It's different. I gave birth to a son, and you have a younger brother who means you have someone to rely on. It has nothing to do with how much money you make. Grandma also gave birth to a son. Do you think she has a good life because of your dad? But you're born because of your dad. If your grandma didn't give birth to a son, where would you, your granddaughter, come from? Isn't it a blessing that she gave birth to a son? I was speechless and really didn't know what to say. As my mother was talking, she started to cry again. I have taken care of your father for so many years, and I have been his wife and mother. He saved some money and bought a house for his mistress. He has never even bought me a bracelet. Ying Bao, your grandmother doesn't recognize your father as her son now. You don't need to care about your father anymore. Take care of your mother more. After all, you crawled out of your mother's belly. Seng Yao is your biological brother, and you can't ignore him as a sister. Mom promises you that I will love you as much as I love Zeng Yao in the future, okay? I glanced at my phone and then said, Of course, Mom, I will take care of you. I will help you hire the best lawyer to fight the lawsuit and help you get more property from your father. Mom cried with joy and said yes repeatedly. After hanging up the phone, my grandmother, who had listened to the whole process, held my hand hesitantly. Ying Bao, your mother is not a good person either. You can't bear to give up her, but you should also think more about yourself. I know that when I was born, my mother threw me to my grandmother. Later, when I gave birth to my younger brother, I wanted my grandmother to take care of my grandson, but my grandmother refused, so she hated my grandmother. Later, many things were actually suggested by my mother. She was the mouthpiece of my father, fighting for a son for my father and getting rid of my sick mother for my father. Then she was complacent and thought her life was full of meaning. I said to my grandmother, "Don't worry, I know my limits." I was thinking about something else. Before, when my mother said that Lin Zhangyao was the only male in the old Lin family, the life system was triggered. But just now, when my mother said that Lin Zhangyao was my biological brother, the system did not respond. In other words, Lin Zhangyao was born by my mother, but not my father's child. A few days later, I found the information I wanted. It turned out that after giving birth to me, my mother was extremely anxious and looked for a folk remedy to give birth to a son. She found the master who claimed to be a child-giving fairy. As long as you are sincere, you can get a boy. Not long after, she became pregnant with Lin Zhangyao. However, later this child-giving fairy was arrested for deceiving female disciples to practice dual cultivation with him. Lin Zhangyao is most likely the child of this child-giving fairy. Of course, I have to do my best to help my mother win the divorce lawsuit smoothly. Otherwise, who will put my father in a desperate situation? What will happen when the desperate father knows that his only son is not his own? It's hard to guess. I found a very famous divorce lawyer for my mother. During this period, my mother was very kind to me. In addition to asking about my well-being 3 times a day, she also went to the mall every day and took pictures of all the beautiful clothes she saw and sent them to me. Yingbao, look, these are the clothes that Mom picked for you. When we live together in the future, Mom will buy all these for you. And I know that she went to the mall every day because her family could no longer afford the water and electricity. She didn't dare to turn on the air conditioner, so she had to go to the mall to get some heating, drink free water, and go to the supermarket counter to eat tastings to fill her stomach. She also wanted to give me the big gold bracelet she had kept for a long time and prepared to use for Lin Zhangyao to marry his wife. Yingbao, come and see Mom. Mom will give this bracelet to you, okay? I was too lazy to pay attention to her and turned around to ask the saleswoman to wrap up the emerald jade bracelet in front of me. My grandmother has gained some weight recently because of me, and this emerald bracelet on her wrist is just right. The best emerald matches the best grandmother. As for my father, the situation is even worse. I took my grandmother away, and he no longer has the bargaining chip to ask me for money, and Lin Zhangyao saw the reaction of his parents when he was being harassed for debts, and he also knew that his father spent a lot of money to buy a house for a woman outside. The grudge in his heart became more serious, and the relationship between father and son was in jeopardy. The house they live in now was originally my father's name, but it was allocated to my mother after the judgment was made. Because my father was the party at fault, most of the little property fell into my mother's pocket. That day, I appeared at the door of the court wearing a black cashmere coat, kitten heels, a delicate hairstyle specially made by a stylist, and a powerful makeup. Carrying a platinum bag, when I got off the Range Rover leisurely, the diamond tassel earrings on my ears reflected a dazzling light. My mother didn't dare to step forward for a while and asked cautiously, "Yingbao, are you Lin Yingbao?" I responded coldly. Lin Zhangyao's face twisted for a moment, but he still forced a smile and called me, "Hello, sister." Oh, I have never heard him call me sister in such a well-behaved tone in my life. I looked at his embarrassed appearance from top to bottom and gave him a fake smile. At this moment, my father, who was in a state of despair, suddenly knelt down with a plop, crawled in front of me, and shouted, "Daughter, I am your biological father. You and I are related by blood. You can't ignore me." Perhaps because he felt that he had nothing, my father, who always cared about face, didn't care about anything unkowtow to me in public. I looked at him coldly, and he froze. He didn't expect that I was really indifferent. After a few breaths, he still gritted his teeth and kowtowed his forehead heavily to the ground. There were many people watching around, and many people pointed at me. But I don't care. Why is the possibility that these people will meet me again when they walk on the road in the future? What is the possibility that people will remember me? Lin Zhangyao kicked his father fiercely. "You have ignored my sister for so many years, and even fabricated that my grandmother was sick to cheat him of money." How dare you use your identity as a biological father to morally blackmail my sister? Dad wanted to refute, but Lin's Ang Yao punched and kicked without stopping. In addition, he was resentful of learning that my father bought a house for Ning Jiao, and the new hatred and old hatred were superimposed, so he was quite ruthless. After all, Dad is old and can't beat the young and strong boy. He was beaten speechless. After hearing the whole story, the onlooker said that this brother is good and knows how to protect his sister, unlike those brother-supporting demons outside. Mom took the opportunity to say to me, "Look at what I said. Isn't it okay to have a brother to rely on?" I thought it was funny and didn't answer. After the crowd dispersed, I called a special car for my mother and Lin's Ang Yao and coaxed them to go back first. Then I whispered a few words to my father, who was crawling on the ground, and took out the tablet to show him something. He trembled all over and looked at me in disbelief. I looked meaningfully in the direction where the mother and son left. My father also followed my gaze, his face gloomy and his teeth clenched tightly. When my mother returned home, she did not stop asking me about my well-being. She asked me where I was and when I would send the money. I just perfunctorily answered them and occasionally teased them, but they did not dare to talk back. More than a month passed like this, and they could not sit still anymore because the real debt collectors came to their door. These were not the actors I had hired before, who only dared to bluff and scare them in person. After many warnings to no avail, they directly exposed Lin's and Yao's address book. Lin Zhang Yao could not stand the strange looks around him and the insults from his classmates and friends who were harassed because of him. He refused to go to school and dared not go out. The debt collectors took shifts every day and squatted at his door 24 hours a day. They did nothing, but when my mother went out to buy groceries, they followed her fiercely and prevented her from buying anything. The mother and son finally broke down, and they began to find ways to find out about me. So I asked someone to leak the license plate number to them and revealed that the car had been in undoubted of a wealthy area in the east of the city. As expected, the private detective wrote to say that in the middle of the night, while the debt collectors at the door were changing shifts, Lin's Ang Yao sneaked into the community with drugs, ropes, and sacks. I forwarded the news to my father with satisfaction. The next afternoon, the hot search midnight murder occurred at the door of a wealthy area in the east of the city, made the headlines. He stabbed more than a dozen times. It is said that the father killed his son. How big a grudge is that? It's true. The father had a loud voice and kept shouting things like, "You knew you were a bastard, so you dared to hit me, and you are a bitch like your mother. If I don't live well, you won't live well either," and so on. It seems that both the old and the young are carrying a lot of debts. The upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked. After stabbing the person, the man shouted that he would kill his ex-wife as well. Fortunately, he was caught. I sat on the balcony window on the other side of the city, which was far from the rich area. I watched the relevant videos that were each for a while, then put down my phone, used the small quilt, and began to take a nap. I said it before, there are not so many coincidences in the world where you can meet witnesses when you want to find out something. You really don't learn from it. The mother, who suddenly lost her son, went completely crazy. The story spread in the community, and the neighbors were quite disgusted with her. She wanted to go back to her parents' home, but no one in her family would acknowledge her. They all thought she was a disgrace and drove her out. She would send messages to insult me and then beg me for forgiveness. Later, I heard that she would wander the streets from time to time, and when she saw a woman with a son, she would grab the woman and ask, "You gave birth to a son, so your husband and your mother-in-law must love you very much, right? You must be the priority in everything at home, right?" After being taken to the police station several times, I got tired. So I took great pains to find a particularly good nursing home for her. It was her turn to receive the care that Grandma had received in those years. Unexpectedly, on the way to the nursing home, while waiting for the red light, we actually saw an Ing Zhaoxia outside the car window. After her father was sentenced to prison, the bank lost its loan repayment, so Ningzi Kosa's house, which had just been bought and had not yet warmed up, was auctioned off by the court. She experienced ups and downs in her life all of a sudden, and I gave her a little push, and her role in the rich sand incident immediately became known to everyone. The canary that used to toss between various men became a street rat. I was standing outside the mall in confusion, looking at the windows of the big brands that I was once familiar with. My mother suddenly opened the card door and rushed out, dragging Xiaoxia over and desperately tore her clothes and hair. In the chaos, the two wrestled in the middle of the road. The owner of the car was fine, but Ning Xiaoxiao fell face down on the asphalt road, disfigured. Later, when I woke up one morning, I heard the long-lost system voice. Congratulations, host. Welcome to a new life. The lie to make money system is about to be disengaged. I wish you a smooth life in the future. I whispered my thanks. The sun was shining outside the window, and my grandmother was watering the strawberries in the yard. The small strawberries had begun to turn red. I strode out, and the road ahead was bright. The end of the full text.